Hello YouTube, it's Black Saint Magician back again with another video. I wasn't able to do a rant video because of personal issues yesterday. Normally people do the Banlist reactions the day that it appears, that it is revealed, but I still have time to do either way, even if it's on the next day. So I'm going to be giving you my thoughts and showing you which cards is possibly hit or most likely going back to 2 or 3, and let us proceed as I look forward to the ban list. So cards that were most likely banned, which is new, when it was Mecha Fantabeast Auroradon, Meow Meow Moo, and Verte Anaconda. Well, this card was limited, should have been banned regardless. So I'm going to give my thoughts. The reason why Mecha Fantabeast Auroradon was banned because how easily accessible was what it was, and it was always with the Keshan Haki Firebrax combo. It helped you get several Omni Negates on top of being able to special summon 3 tokens with ease, considering you had to get rid of 2 or more link monsters, no, not 2 or more monsters, including link monsters, but the problem is that it was just too easily accessible. And the fact that you could spam tokens using a monster from your extra was too much, and it was in fact a link monster that let you summon 3 tokens. Meow Meow Mew for a different reason, but this card was heavily broken because with Brankets. So if you use one of your fusion monsters to tribute, you can banish this card from your graveyard set. And the reason why this is a big deal because there's one Brankets fusion monster that allows you to tribute itself, but instead of tributing itself, you just combo with Meow Meow Mew, and not only do you keep your fusion monster, but you pretty much destroy all the cards on your opponent's field while your monster remains. And then we have Verte Anaconda. I personally think that I pretty much predicted this was going to get banned because also you have to look at prime examples like Destiny Hero, Destroyer, Phoenix Enforcer. On top of the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, even though there are ways you can pretty much summon Dragoon without having to use Verte and the Red Eyes Fusion combo. But the issue was that you can play this in almost any deck and it was easily accessible. And all you had to do was play one fusion and a couple of fusion materials, and then Verte Anaconda was pretty much one of those cards that was pretty much mandatory in the extra deck in order to go in cards like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon or DPE, which is Destroyer, Phoenix Enforcer, or any other fusion archetype. But again, it's one of those cards that it was just you can constantly on your first turn summon a fusion monster by literally sending cards from your deck to the grave in order to access any specific fusion monster that you're summoning into using the specific cards that you sent from your deck to the graveyard. Although some people think that it helps in order to compete with the current meta, but at the same time it just helps build more Omni Negates, even though this is the last thing, the Verte Anaconda is the last effect that you would use on the end, near the end of your turn. It's the last effect that you use in order to summon something, because this card only works if you summon it at the very end of your turn. Because if you summon it at the beginning of your turn, then you can't summon any monsters afterwards. Hope you guys get it. Let's continue. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Okay, those are all the banned cards. Going to the limited list. So Jet Synchron went from banned to being limited. It's not going to do too much, although it's just mainly going to help us. Synchros for a bit, mostly Orchest. Perform about Monkeyborn, not too much difference. Going from banned to limited. Red Rose Dragon, I'm not too sure, but that's Konami's call. Yatsugrazu, I'm very surprised here because this is a card that even though it's not gonna see too much play, it's a one of now. But just being able I feel like I'm even surprised because I still feel this card's gonna cause problems. A card shouldn't even be limited in my opinion, or even be unlimited. Simply because it's gonna create issues. It's gonna create a lot of slow playing, and the fact that you can just summon it and just deal 200 and your opponent cannot draw afterwards is an issue. I'm not sure Konami's thing when they decide to bring this card back, because although it's a one, there's a low chance of you seeing it. But it's like the moment you play this card and your opponent has nothing, they deal 200, they scoop, because you can't draw afterwards, and it keeps happening non-stop, infinite loop, non-stop. It keeps going, it goes back, because the fact that it's a spirit monster, your go deals 200, prevents your opponent drawing, and then during the phase goes back to your hand. And if your opponent has nothing to defend themselves, they have no choice but to skip the duel. They have no choice but to admit defeat. This card is completely broken, regardless. So Christian Hulky Firebacks, I'm not sure what's the point of limiting it, since like most players decide to just play one copy of it. I'm not too sure. And it's an extra deck monster, so should have been. I'm not condoning the card being banned, but it should have remained at 3, since it wasn't really doing much. So I could possibly assume it's probably giving you access to too many Synchrotuna monsters. That could be the reason, or just easy link climb. Shooting Rise of Dragon, I'm not too sure either. Like, that's just seemed random. I didn't really hear any complaints about this card, so either way, this is Konami's decision. But what surprised me here is Change of Heart was when forbidden to limited, but it's not gonna make too much of a difference, because the meta is like beyond how it is compared to what it was back then, because it was mainly the spells and traps that were more useful. But spells, regardless, like monsters have already pretty much have pretty much gone beyond that now with their effects becoming more broken. Now it's like, because with Yu-Gi-Oh back then, you did have to have effect monsters, but at the same time, it was a lot of players were also had to rely on normal monsters, because at the time Yu-Gi-Oh was still new, and then there wasn't that many good effects at the time, and the effects were that effects weren't even that relevant when it came to monsters. But now, considering how relevant they've become, it's like monsters are becoming more of an issue than it is compared to spell and trap cards. Although spells are also an issue too, but it's like the monsters are what helps like deter Yu-Gi-Oh, because of how broken their effects are, even though their spells are like. But it's like with Yu-Gi-Oh, you play a lot better when you're heavily relying on monsters, since they're the monsters that help reduce your opponent's life points, if you guys know what I mean. But either way, it's not going to make too much of a difference. And the last card that's limited is Time Seal. I honestly don't have an issue with this card being limited, even if it goes to 3, because the only complaint I have to say is Yata Garazu, because like I said, is literally gonna force people to scoop and quit those cards, because like I said, it's literally the setup. If you have no monsters on your field, like, I understand. If you have no monsters on your field or hand, you can't summon anything, and your opponent prevents you drawing simply the autographs, and the fact that it's a spear monster and goes back to your hand, then that's the reason enough for and it's obvious that person is lost. They have nothing that can counter Yatagarasu. But with Time Seal, at least you can, because you can't activate the moment you draw into it. You still have to activate in your opponent's turn. If they have something during your turn that they can activate, they have ways of getting rid of it. Well, I'm not saying with ease, but all depends on the meta. No changes here, malicious will stay semi-limited. But for people saying that, I'm gonna explain the other cards that were semi-limited. But let me explain the semi-limit. I understand the semi-limits may seem pointless, but with cards like the Destiny Hero Malicious that exist, it gives a reason to justify having the semi-limits. Though I personally do not support the semi-limited list in any capacity, because I feel like it doesn't hinder the cards that much, because even 2 is still a lot. You just mainly just gonna draw. You just have a better chance of drawing 1 copy rather than 2, in my opinion. But that's all I have to say. But so, because the thing is, most cards that are usually semi, they either go 1, they either get limited, or they go unlimited. Because I just want to give my thoughts, and better just to explain to you guys, so you understand why it even exists, because it makes you think whether the card, because you wanted to debate whether you want to sell your card, or you want to keep your remaining 3 in case the card gets unlimited, or you want to sell your other 2 in case the card most likely does get limited. But it all determines on your choices. But at the end of the day, you have to kind of think through, follow through with the ban list, and try to not predict, but try to understand how Konami adjusts the ban list. But besides that, let's see the cards that have been semi-limited, which is the Dynamite Knight, the True Draco Fighter. Most likely is going to go to 3. Draco isn't doing too much, and again, this card will actually most likely benefit and help True Dracos be able to compete again, because like if you're just playing one copy of the Draco fighter, I still feel like it just doesn't give it that much impact. It doesn't have that same impact in my opinion. Even though, especially with card demise at 1, you need cards like this to help be able to activate your traps, which will be very useful. Some people say it's broken, but at the same time, True Dracos don't heavily rely on monsters but floodgates. Cyber Angel Benton, I can see why, because Eva has been banned basically, so they have no issue with having Samurai limited, which will most likely go to 3, because Eva isn't causing any more problems with Drytron. So Fire Formation Tanky, which is Samurai limited, odds are again it's going to be 3, because compared to Reinforcement Army, it doesn't have the same benefits as Reinforcement of the Army, because Reinforcement Arms you can activate more than once. With Tanky, you only activate it once. Although it's similar to Reinforcement Army, because you can add 1 level 4 or lower Beast Warrior from your deck or entire hand, but at the same time, it's only a one-time thing on the first turn. So Fusion Destiny, hoping most likely this card will either most likely get limited, as well as the Dear Servant. These two cards I could predict getting limited in my opinion, because Fusion Destiny is just gonna make DP that much of a problem, and then people don't want to lose on their chances of not being able to play DP, so they don't want to hit it. So with Destiny, most likely should go to 1, simply because the fact that you can just easily get around playing this card, because it's the last thing that you want to activate rather than the first thing. Because what I'm saying, once you build your board, and then the last card you have is Fusion Destiny, and you want to be able to commit to your final summon, then that's the card to go into when you're about to finish your turn. So that needs to be said, but may even go on maybe go limit. I don't know. Who knows? We'll have to find out. The Dear Servant, people have been complaining about this card. Like I said, these cards should not, most likely a lot of these cards should not even be semi-lit. Most likely unlimited or 1. But when Dear Servant, it's just gonna make people are hoping it'll probably go to 1. But like I kind of understand, because it not only does it gives you consistency, it lets you pop a card, especially with the combo with Entis, with cards like the I'm trying to remember, there's the Fossil Warrior. You also have Pegasus, other cards that can pretty much benefit when you send them from the extract to the graveyard. Bar Desires, like I said, it was kind of pointless for this card being limited. If it's going to be similar, most likely go to 3. Trickstar, as well as Trickstar Light Stage. It's not going to do much being at 3, because even though you can activate it more than once to get to search one of your Trickstar monsters, the whole point of the combo is to normal summon Candina, get your Lycers, that's it basically. Or get 2 or 3 of your Lycers, and just be able to return your Candina, special summon 2 Lycers, deal 200 damage several times, and possibly deplete your opponent's life points without having to do too much battle damage. Wall of Revealing Light, I was so confused why this card was even limited for 6, but again, that was probably most likely how the ban list was, because maybe it was too busted during old school. But like I said, if it's going to go semi-limited, most likely it's going to go from semi-limited to unlimited. And the cards that were just limited, this is at 3, this is at 3, I'm not going to explain too much. Trishula isn't doing too much, although it's a strong, Synchro is not even that relevant. Mirage Stalio is back at 3 now. Hero Lives, most likely the hero players are going to be happy with this card, even though Fusion Destiny should be limited and will kind of deteriorate from the deck from being too broken. So be considering how consistent they already are. You don't need to have several cards that they shouldn't have several cards at 3 that can help them dump cards from the extra deck to the grave, or basically fusion summon a lot quicker and easier, because they have several cards that can do that. So Salamangreat Great Circle, I predict this because Salamangreat is basically rogue right now. Is still doing a lot. Is still doing good, but it isn't competing that much because of how much has been overshadowed. Considering it's still a good deck regardless. Scapegoat at 3 because although you spent 4 tokens, like you still have to wait. Like you have to wait to activate on your opponent's turn. It doesn't do anything if you activate it on your turn because it prevents you from summoning. And again, hope you guys enjoy the list, and you can give your opinions and thoughts on how you feel about it and below the comment section. And again, hope I was able to entertain you guys and be able to share my thoughts, and that you can understand what I'm talking about. And then maybe you can share your feedback and maybe explain maybe if there's anything I didn't bring up that I missed out on, and hopefully maybe if there is some updates I can be able to reply and maybe do another video relate that with for any Yu-Gi-Oh related content. And again, hope you guys enjoy the video. Be sure to check for more upcoming content in the future. Be sure to check your notifications. Comment, like, subscribe. Thank you.